What's up, good people? Good morning and happy Wednesday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Download the app, take us on the go, hit us up on the Google and Alexa home devices, video stream, also up and rolling this morning on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Does anybody use Twitch? Anybody listening to us use Twitch? But kind of wondering if we should go up on Twitch as well, like where all the kiddos go. But hopefully, you're all off to a fantastic start. If you're just getting up and getting at it here this morning, appreciate you making us a part of your day here. What do we got on that good old game plan of ours? Brewers picking up another win. Magic number now down to 6. Craig Counsell earned his 700th win. 700th win as manager, all with the Brewers too. But magic number down to 6 with the win over the Cardinals last night. Brewer Crew 7-3, thanks to 4 doubles in a row to climb out from behind and take the lead. William Contreras picked up another home run last night, his 17th on the season. So Brewers inching just a bit closer. Sure looks like they're gonna get this thing done, right? Looks like they're gonna get this done. Feeling confident? I'm feeling confident about it. What do you think? Probably, let's say a week from now. I think they'll clinch it up, right? I think they'll clinch it up a week from now. But we're gonna talk some Brew Crew, recapping the game from last night. Colin Ray picking up his 6th win. Adrian Hauser's on the mound tonight. Then we're going to get Wade Miley in the series finale on Thursday. Before the Brew Crew finish up their final road trip of the regular season when they visit Miami. Then they finish things up at home all next week against the Cardinals again, and then the Chicago Cubs. But there's a chance the Brewers will have the division locked up before they take on the Chicago Cubs. I think we'd all like that, right? But you kind of want to get some momentum going, and don't you? You don't want to just kind of limp on in and maybe not play some good baseball heading into it. But nonetheless, we're getting close to wrapping this thing up. We know in the American League, Baltimore and Tampa Bay have clinched playoff spots. They're kind of still going at it for the division there in the American League East right now. But we know Baltimore and Tampa got things clinched up for themselves there. Obviously, we know the Braves. They're good to go right now. They're the only Dodgers also clinching. So those are the only 4 teams that have clinched spots right now. Dodgers and Braves, the only 2 of the 4 that have clinched their division. But kind of a quick update where things stand right now in that National League. Atlanta Dodgers, as we said, leading their divisions, clinching their divisions. They're in the postseason. Brewers getting closer. Philly, Arizona, and the Cubs still in that wild card spot. But Miami is just a half game out. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough series coming up here for the Crew. Miami's got a lot to play for in that one. Cincinnati's still remaining just a game out from a wild card spot. San Francisco 3 out, 3 out. And I guess, I mean, are the Padres trying to make a late run here? 5.5 back. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 6 in a row. Maybe. I don't know. American League, Baltimore, Houston, Minnesota, Tampa Bay is this your top wild card spot. Toronto, Seattle, and Texas tied up there. And looks like it's just between those 2 right now, but it's gonna get tight for that American League wild card spot. Those last couple spots over there too. So it's gonna be a team that's got, I would say, close to 90 wins, even probably 90 wins in the American League, and probably not going to head to the postseason. So we got some baseball chat coming up here. It's been a couple days, so I haven't had a chance to talk a little green and gold with y'all. But I want to talk a little Packers as the Packers will return to practice later on today to prepare for their home opener against the New Orleans Saints. There's a few things I want to chat about with you all. One, how concerned are you about the performance of A.J. Dillon thus far, so far this season? How concerned are you about that? Also, thanks, sir. Also, we're going to talk a little David Bakhtiari. Looking at that knee issue, that's something I definitely want to talk to with Dr. Crow coming up here on Friday. Is it was he held out? Later on, getting into that week, you kind of wondering, okay, is he going to sit out because it's the turf? And the next time that they're going to play on turf is when they go to Detroit and that. But Matt LaFleur saying afterwards that swelling in that knee, and if you remember our conversations with Dr. Crow from when this first happened, it wasn't the concern wasn't the ACL and such; it was the swelling, it was the cartilage. And Matt LaFleur saying the other day that Bakhtiari's knee was swelling up there, and you know some things came into my mind is that because he hasn't been practicing, and then he goes out there and plays a full game, and then because he hasn't been practicing, it swelled up after that. I don't know. I have no idea, but that's something I want to talk with Dr. Crow on later on in the week. But you're concerned with Bakhtiari, and you know, is this honestly? You know what it reminds me of is load management in the NBA, and right now the NBA is trying to cut it down on the load management. And this is going to be, I think, a story throughout the season. Now, was it fully based off the turf? Was it the swelling? The other part of me is like, is swelling after a game normal? And is that something that, Bakhtiari's been going through since the surgery, and they're just kind of using that as an excuse, this year? But I don't know, maybe a little bit of a head scratcher there. But I think I'm sure a couple of you or a few of you in the first couple days of this week were maybe venting about the defense and Joe Barry and such. But I kind of want to talk a little AJ Dillon specifically here this morning. How concerned are you about what you've seen from AJ Dillon? Are you not concerned at this point with Dillon heading into a contract year? We've seen it how many times, players heading into contract years, maybe kind of ball out and put up some good numbers. But so far, AJ Dillon this year, and I know it's just 2 games, it's only 2 weeks worth, but 28 carries, 74 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. He's also only caught 3 passes. Remember, he was the kind of the bell cow. He was the lead back in this game against Atlanta. So, your thoughts on that? Also, stock reports, whose stocks are up, whose stocks are down. You can hit us up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912, 715-830-1912, or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, or on the video stream. Hit us up on the video stream over there, too. Get in the chat room over there if you'd like. But let's get things going here this morning. We're going to talk a little baseball. We're going to talk a little green and gold. Since it's been a couple days again. I haven't had a chance to talk some football with you also. I want to talk a little football with you. And honestly, okay, so first loss with the new era ushering in. I'm kind of curious, and I know it's a couple days old here. But how much did that loss affect you? And let me ask it like maybe this way. Let me explain it this way. So like maybe in years prior, last few years, with Rodgers as quarterback, Super Bowl expectations, maybe a loss really hit you. Like, dang it, is this going to come back to haunt us? How is this going to affect our playoff standings? You're really venting and grinding your gears after a loss. How did this loss, did it affect you differently? Did it still like bug you? Did it still get at you? Or did you already kind of have this mindset coming into the season like, you know what? It's going to be an up and down year. I'm not going to try to ride the roller coaster of emotions. I'm not going to try to do that. kind of a little case study, if you will, a little case study action here. So let's get things going here this morning. We'll take our first break and let's chat. Let's chat about things this morning. All right. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with the leadoff.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
The reviews are in. It's the best thing I have ever tasted in my life. This is the best thing that's happened in my life, even better than my wedding. That's what everyone has to say about Man Cave Light, the official beer of the Dan Kasper Show and the Man Cave podcast. Try it for yourself and you will know exactly why people say it's like sipping a little bit of heaven. Man Cave Light is available on tap at the bar in Hy-Vee. You can also grab a crawler or 6 and take some Man Cave Light home with you. So go try your new favorite beer, Man Cave Light, today, and you will know exactly why one reviewer said, I cry tears of joy every time I have one.
The 65th Annual Kiwanis Club of Eau Claire's Paul Bunyan Flapjack Feed, Saturday, September 23rd, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Memorial High School Cafeteria in Eau Claire. Sponsored by Festival Foods. Tickets are $10 for adults, $5 for children under 12, and children 3 and under, free. All proceeds go to service projects in the Eau Claire area. It's all you care to eat, and carryouts are available. Special appearances by Paul Bunyan and Pancake Man. Check out the annual Kiwanis Club Paul Bunyan Flapjack Feed, Saturday, September 23rd, Memorial High School in Eau Claire. Get more details online or find them on Facebook.
Hey everyone, Dan Kasper here from Sports Talk 105.1 and Midwest Family Eau Claire. I wanted to let you know about our final free marketing seminar opportunity of the year and share some information with you. But it's only for serious local businesses and organizations that want to grow in 2024. So I'm inviting you to join us for our Really Smart Marketing Half-Day Workshop on Wednesday, November 1st from 8:30 until noon at the Metropolis Resort and Conference Center in Eau Claire. You can register for your seat right now at MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com. At this workshop, you'll learn why your business or organization isn't growing as fast as it should, how to turn strangers into your best superhero promoters and fans, and how to achieve a return on your marketing investment in today's world of digital and traditional advertising. Space is limited for this free November 1st half-day workshop, so register now at MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com.
Winters can get long in Wisconsin. I'll bet by next March you'll be ready to take a break. Well, if you are, come on along. We're going to take a farm tour to Costa Rica and Panama, March 23rd through April 1st. We'll explore tropical treasures of unique wildlife in these two Central American countries. We'll explore Costa Rica first into the agricultural portion of our tour with a visit to the Doca Coffee Estate. And here we'll discover the importance of the coffee bean to Costa Rica's economy. We'll also make stops at the Cano Negro Wildlife Refuge and Arnal Volcano National Park. And we'll go visit the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans as we sail through the Panama Canal. We'll take in the sights of Panama City, meet local agricultural experts in Panama as well as we find out about all that country's agriculture. Visit holidayvacations.com. The keyword is wax for more information and to watch a travel show, or call 888-557-1020 for a free brochure.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hunters, let me ask you a question. In your gun cabinet, do you have a deer rifle that's been passed down throughout your family? maybe from your dad, grandpa, or great-grandfather. I do. I've got an old 30-30 bolt action that's been passed down throughout the years. And it was my first deer rifle I used when I was 12 years old, and it will be my son's first deer rifle as well. Every deer rifle has a story to tell throughout the years. Stories about that big one you got and missed. So if you're looking for that new deer rifle to begin a new set of stories, let Tilden Gun help you write that new chapter in your deer hunting book. Whether you're looking for a new deer rifle for yourself so you can continue the tradition of passing along that older rifle to your young one, or looking for your first-time hunter's first deer rifle, Tilden Gun can help you. They did for me, and they will continue to help me write these stories in my deer hunting book. The added extra bonus about Tilden Gun: family-owned and operated, and the best deals in the Chippewa Valley. Just visit Tilden Gun today at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls and visit tildengun.com.
Voice Guy here, bumping into your programming to remind you to subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast. New episodes uploaded daily, and it's available on your favorite podcasting platform. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
All right, let's get things going here this morning on the good old leadoff. One question I forgot to kind of throw out to all of you too. Little maybe overreaction just after a couple of weeks here. But what's been your impression so far too of one Mr. Jordan Love? Has he exceeded your first couple weeks expectation? Again, I know it's just 2 weeks. You know, I don't want to over exaggerate or put a lot of stock in just 2 weeks here at this point. But what have been your your thoughts? Has he hit those? Has he exceeded those? Again, I know there's going to be some. Well, give it a couple more weeks. Completely agree. Completely agree. Or give it a few more weeks. Give him a whole year. You got it. I totally agree. But from what you have seen so far in the first 2 weeks, what have been has he reached your expectations? He's got a quarterback rating of 118.8. QBR of 75.5, fourth best in the league. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not a lot of yards, 396. Completion percentage, you'd probably like to see a little bit higher than 55.8. But give me your honest opinion on it. Okay? Give me your honest opinion. I was looking at some of these, and again, these are just 2 weeks worth of numbers here, so I don't really want to. And oh wow, okay. So according to the mothership ESPN, he's the second ranked fantasy football quarterback too so far. Interesting. All right. Anyways, I was looking at some of these stats, and again, it's just 2 weeks in here, but so Green Bay, division wise, they've scored the most points, just 62. But again, the next closest one is Detroit at 52. But they've also allowed the least amount of points, 45. Detroit 57, Minnesota 54, Chicago 65. I don't know. But again, this is just 2 weeks in, so I don't take a whole lot from there. But with Love, has he kind of exceeded, maybe right on that same track, or I don't know. I'm kind of curious. So let me know. I'll give you some time to hit me up with that one. But I did want to talk a little bit about one AJ Dillon to lead things off here, because at least on the socials shortly after the game, maybe even after Monday and such. But how concerned are you from what you have seen so far from AJ Dillon? We went through the numbers that he's putting up for a guy of his size. I mean, just averaging 2.6 yards per carry. Seemed like he was tripping quite a bit in his past game on Sunday and such. But Are you concerned? Are you frustrated? Are you like, I'm okay right now yet? I mean, I think it's fair and I think it's honest to say that the first couple of weeks for AJ Dillon haven't been great. Haven't really been up to the level of expectation that he, LaFleur, Packers, the whole team, really expected. Chicago, 13 carries for just 19 yards, yard and a half, 1.5 yards per carry. Atlanta, he's the main guy. Aaron Jones ain't playing. 15 carries, 55 yards, 3.7 per carry. So far this year, 28 carries for 74 yards, 2.6 average. Way down from his career averages. Again, I know it's just 2 weeks, but that's we live week by week, game by game when it comes to the football season there. But I mean, you last year in a quote down year for AJ Dillon for the expectations. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. 7 touchdowns, 770 yards on 186 attempts. The year prior, which why a lot of people, including himself, felt like last year was a down year because in 2021, his second year in the league, kind of gave, I think, a lot of people some glimpses of what he potentially could do. 187 carries, so one more carry than last year, but he also went over 800 yards, 4.3 per carry. In his rookie year, he's actually gone down. I don't know if there's something to it or what, but so his rookie year, he only carried the ball 46 times. Remember, Jamal Williams was still in the roster, Aaron Jones and such, but 46 times, 242 yards for 5.3 yards per carry. So his rookie year, again, the attempts there, just 46, 5.3 yards per carry. Second year, 4.3 yards per carry. Last year, 4.1 yards per carry. This year, so far, 2.6 yards per carry. Heading into, again, contract here, has he necessarily been maybe putting up some of the numbers that might keep him around or at least get a big contract? I don't know. It's disappointing. And I think it's fair to say it's been a slow start for AJ Dillon this year. And heading into that game, this past Sunday with no Aaron Jones, and then having a lead to and struggling to run the football effectively, it's a downer, right? And it's a downer. It's a disappointment. I hope we can start to see some improvements coming up here. It's going to be tough. New Orleans has a good defense coming up here for the home opener, so it's going to be a little tough going there. But I think there's some pressure riding on the big shoulders of Quadzilla, of AJ Dillon out there. And I just hope things kind of turn around here a little bit. Because hey, maybe I'm a little partial because AJ Dillon is my kid's favorite player. Okay, he's got his AJ Dillon jersey. He collects his cards. So I want AJ Dillon to stay around for a long time for Green Bay. Very long time. So I want him to succeed. I want him to put up good numbers, and I want him to play well. He plays well. Green Bay plays well. He stays around. Something's just not right. I don't know exactly what it is. Something's not right. And kind of going through some of the texts here on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line here. There's a few of you already chiming in on the texting line, kind of venting some frustration. Greg on the texting line saying, AJ Dillon's been a big disappointment for me so far this season, especially this past game Sunday when he was a lead back. I expected more from him this season. It is only 2 weeks, but it has definitely been a slow start. Travis saying, I'm willing to give AJ Dillon the benefit of the doubt, but no doubt this season has been a very slow start for him. Really disappointing in the performance on Sunday. Eric also saying, is this why that the Packers reportedly were interested in Jonathan Taylor? Maybe. I don't know. Possibly. That thought did cross my mind, but who knows? Well, I don't know if we'll ever really know the full-on truth answer there. Adam also texting in on the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line here, saying it's definitely been a slow start for number 28. Hopefully he can continue, or hopefully he can get better as the season progresses. So, yeah, there's been some disappointments out there. There has been some disappointments out there. Catching up on some more messages here. Good to see everybody chiming in already this morning. If you haven't, hit us up. But we got Chris saying about Jordan Love here. Jordan Love has definitely exceeded my expectations that I had for him at the beginning of the season. Not throwing an interception is, excuse me, is a statistic that really stands out to me. We got looks like another Adam also texting and saying Jordan Love's been putting up some good numbers. Would like to see that completion percentage go up a little bit, but I also feel like he hasn't taken a lot of risks, and that's why he hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions. So maybe to expound on that, would you say he's been more of a game manager? And is that necessarily a negative? Is that necessarily a negative? Maybe in some instances, yes. Because, everybody's going to throw up graphics. You're going to probably see it every single game. And I think we've seen it so far every single game in the first 2 weeks. Jordan Love's stats through his first 2 starts compared to Aaron Rodgers' first 2 starts. Jordan Love's stats through week 12, or through his first 12 games compared to Aaron Rodgers in his first 12 games. We're probably going to see some sort of graphic every single game. We have so far, and I don't envision it slowing down anytime soon, or that not stopping until the season's over with. And the numbers that probably really stand out are the completion percentage and the yards. And I think this is just something, you're going to have to ride the waves, the up and downs when it comes to Love. But I'll tell you, I've overall, just using a 2-week example, I've been impressed. Kind of going back to the one texter who said, no interceptions is a stat that stands out to them the most. I'd buy that. I'd agree with it. Now, could it be because he's not taking as many risks? And I mean, let's not kid ourselves too. There's been a couple throws where he's probably thrown a pick. I can envision the one this past week in Atlanta was like 2 chances there for a guy to get that pick. I mean, it looked like it was right in his breadbasket and just completely dropped it. No, I'm not talking about Jair either. So I mean, there's those cases, there's those instances and such. But for a guy coming in, kind of like thinking, okay, is he going to throw a pick? Maybe a couple picks here because before the season there was quite a few people saying, yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. Hopefully, the interceptions aren't very high. Well, so far he hasn't done it, and his rating's been up there. QBR's is up there. And I think too, what's maybe putting a hyper focus on the running game or the struggle of AJ Dillon too has been he hasn't thrown for a ton of yards. So it hasn't thrown for a ton. I mean, you look at your passing leaders through 2 weeks of the season in terms of yards, and Love is 23rd. He's 23rd, right behind Dak Prescott at 398. But when you kind of do completion percentages, Jordan Love is 30th. 30th. The 2 quarterbacks that are worse than him in completion percentage, Deshaun Watson, Zach Wilson. But then you want to go quarterback rating. Who's number 1? Jordan Love. In fact, the top 3 quarterbacks through the first 2 weeks of the season in quarterback ratings are all in the NFC North. Jordan, Kirk, Jared. Then you got Russell at 4, Baker Mayfield at 5, Geno Smith at 6. If this isn't an example of like, okay, it's just 2 weeks in, then I don't know what the heck is. Because you're probably thinking, where the heck are guys like Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow's 27th. Patrick Mahomes is 20th. Give it some time. I guarantee you this is going to look a whole lot different at the end of the year. Josh Allen's 13th. So, I mean, some of these numbers are just kind of like, wow, very like up and down when it comes to love. Almost like third of the bottom in completion percentage, number 1 in quarterback rating, number 4 in QBR. Touchdown passes, tied for the league lead with Kirk Cousins. There's been a lot of good mixed in with some poor stuff, some inconsistent stuff, no doubt about it. But I think for me, when I look at the first 2 weeks of the season under the new era of the Jordan Love era, yeah, I've been good. I've been good with it. And and I think that also factors in a little bit too with Matt LaFleur and some of the play call. There's been a lot of spreading the ball around. And this has been without Christian Watson so far to begin the season. This has been, without Aaron Jones last week. And it's been, I think, a thing that a lot of Packers fans have wanted for a very long time. Spreading the ball out. Love Devontae, right? We all love Devontae. But a lot of Packers fans wanted, hey, spread that ball around a little bit. Spread it out. Your leading receiver so far for Green Bay is still Aaron Jones. 1 game, Aaron Jones, 86 yards. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? That depends on who you are. I mean, these are your receiving leaders so far. Aaron Jones, 86 yards. Jane Reed, 85. Musgrave, 75. Romeo, 56. Dontavian, who just had himself a game this past weekend, 40. That's it. That's it. I think right now, if we did a poll and you asked the majority of people their concern or their frustration, I don't know if concern, yeah, maybe, frustrations at the defensive level. There's an article up by Tom Silverstein, who covered the Packers for a long time, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And his latest one is that, I'll just kind of give you the headline here. Blame the players, not Joe Barry, for the Packers' defensive failures. Coordinator Joe Barry has been responsible for some defensive failures the past 2 years, but the loss to the Falcons was all on the players. Do you agree with that statement? Do you not agree with that statement? Yes or no? Do you agree that it's all on the players and not Joe Barry? Or do you blame Joe Barry mostly for that loss to the Falcons? Give you a few minutes to think about it and let me know. Okay, I'll give you some other numbers here that may kind of sway or solidify your opinion on that. And one of the big ones out there for me, missed tackles from this game. Slate. So, according to Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic, he counted 21 missed tackles. 21. 4 came from Slayton on the defensive line. Guy that's supposed to be in there really helping stop the run. 4 from him. Rashawn Gary, 3. Jair, 3. Darnell Savage, 3. But 21 missed tackles. Is that Joe Barry? Or is that the players? And I know there's going to be some that'll be like, well, coaches to coach tackling. And you're right. But when it gets to being on the field, in the game, do you put that more on the players or is it still the coaches? What do you think? Let me know. Hit me up with a text 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back to finish up this first hour after these few words. We'll have a new episode of the Man Cave Podcast brought to you by Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford up later on this morning. But I also wanted to make you aware we are going to be on YouTube with the podcast coming up. So the first episode on YouTube will be up later today. Also still available on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But I wanted to pass along that we will now have the podcast available on YouTube if that trips trigger, that fancies you or anything out there too. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to the podcast on your podcasting platform, your favorite podcasting platform, or wherever you get your podcasts. And then also don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll get some more green and gold chalk talk episodes up there. Of course, the video stream is always up there, and now we will have the podcast. One of those guests on the podcast, C-Bomb, with the text here this morning. AJ will be just fine. He will get going. It's early. So Joe Barry, I threw out that question. Tom Silverstein's article in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel said, blame the players, not Joe Barry, for the performance against Atlanta. Gave you the numbers for missed tackles. You agree or disagree with that statement? You agree or disagree? Blame the players, not Joe Barry. There's a lot of flipping missed tackles in that game. Holy moly, a lot of flipping missed tackles. When we look back at this game, and the team ran for 45 times for 211 yards. Bijan Robinson had himself a game. There's a lot to kind of take away from this. Total yards, Atlanta had 400 and 446, 27 flipping first downs here. They owned time of possession, 36 minutes, 15 seconds. The one thing that kind of really stood out to me, one of the things that stood out to me on the defensive side here was the pressure. Was the pressure. Pressure as in getting after Desmond Ridder. So Desmond Ridder was 19 of 32. 237 yards. The week prior, and again, this is just a couple weeks. I know it's just a couple weeks yet, but the week prior, Carolina was able to get after Desmond Ridder for 4 sacks. This game, and going up against the Bears too, Green Bay was able to generate some pressure and make Justin Fields uncomfortable. But this game against Atlanta, Green Bay was only able to get after Desmond Ridder once for 1 sack. 1 sack. And I know I'm a believer Atlanta's offensive line is better than Chicago's, but Carolina was able to get some pressure in week 1. And it was kind of disappointing to not see Green Bay get that same amount of pressure. To get that same amount of pressure. And Atlanta, 4 times they went for it on 4th down, and they were 3 out of 4. But 446 yards. Each team had the same amount of drives. Each team had 10 total drives on offense. And Atlanta put up over 200 more yards of offense. Atlanta 5.7 yards per play. Green Bay 4.8. And I know, and I think in the fourth quarter too, when Atlanta put up those 13 points, yeah, we focus a lot on the defensive side and trying to make that stop and getting those stops. But you look at the offense in the fourth quarter, they didn't help their defense out a whole lot either. They didn't help out that defense. They opened up, what was it? And going into the fourth quarter, Green Bay, 3 plays, punt. 3 plays, punt. 4 plays, turnover on downs. Then pick up a first down. What? They had 7 total yards of offense in the fourth quarter. You'd like to see that running game kind of come into play here and milk some time off the clock or pick up some first downs to give your defense a little bit of a flipping breather out there. But, man, offense just couldn't do anything in the fourth quarter either. Jordan Love was humming in the third. Green Bay putting up 14 points. You're feeling probably pretty good at a certain point, right? I mean, I was feeling pretty good when it was, 24-12? Like, okay, Jordan Love's got some confidence. Offense is rolling. Defense, just make a couple stops here. We may be good. Defense was gassed. They were gassed. Atlanta ran 20 plays in that fourth quarter to Green Bay's, not counting their last 4. So when Atlanta ran 20 plays compared to Green Bay's 6 on offense. Oof. Then wearing them down. And there's no excuses for the missed tackles. That's just poor fundamental football. Do your job. Do your job. Get it done. All right. Keep your thoughts coming. I know I threw out a bunch of questions here for you this morning, but one of them, your level of concern on A.J. Dillon thus far this season. Has Jordan Love exceeded your expectations or maybe not? The first 2 weeks of the season. And do you agree with Tom Silverstein's headline about blame the players, not Joe Barry, for the defensive performance from Sunday? Text me, tweet it, Facebook, video stream it, whatever is easier for you, whatever one you prefer. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk some baseball. Brewers inching closer and closer to clinching that division. 6 magic numbers now down to 6 for the Crew. They're up 6 against the Cubbies in the division here. Brewers picking up the win last night. 85th win of the season. Adrian Hauser is going to be on the mound tonight for the Crew in Game 3 of this series. Craig Counsell picked up his 700th win as manager, all with the Milwaukee Brewers too, as we know. But good milestone, impressive milestone for Craig Counsell last night, picking up his 700th win. So, but the Brewers getting closer and closer to getting back to the postseason, clinching that spot. We'll take a look at that. I know we kind of earlier on went through the playoff chase and such. So we'll hit that up coming up next hour. Plus, we got stock reports due. So if you want to hit us up with some stock reports, you can do so. We'll hit those up at around 8:05. Whose stock is up and whose stock is down. You can play along with us and let us know over there too. So got a texter coming in here. Felt like the offense couldn't stay on the field in the fourth quarter. Yeah, we just kind of went through some of those numbers over there. 6 plays, 6 total plays. I should say, not counting that final drive there. Not counting that final drive where they were behind. It was just 6 total plays. 3 and out. 3 and out. One of them being that looked like a drunk quarterback sneak. But, yeah, we got some more to get to here. So we'll get to those texts coming up a little bit later on. But I want to, talk a little bit more about where everything's kind of standing here with this chase here for the Crew. William Contreras, another dinger for him last night. He's got his average up to 283, 17 total home runs. The guy has just been Mr. Consistent for a long time right now for this season for the Crew. William Contreras. Big time consistent. Looking at his numbers in July. So July, he hit 365. August, 280. So far in September, 306 for William Contreras. We'll hit that up. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll finish up the first hour, though, with Morgan. Good morning.
Hey, did you hear the Bucks have a new doe? Giannis has a girl dad now.
Yes.
I saw that.
Yep.
So that
he's getting engaged. Or he is engaged.
Yeah, is engaged.
Yeah,
Fiance just had a baby. So he's got 2 little guys, and now he's welcoming the girl dad.
About time to put a ring on that finger for cry eye, Giannis.
You think?
Come on.
Oh, everybody does their own thing.
Come on, Giannis.
Do you think sports marriages are even worth getting into because they so infrequently last?
Yeah.
Giannis might though. He's one of those guys that you
Giannis is
kind
a
of
good dude.
you root for him. He
Mhm.
wants to stay in Milwaukee. He wants to do the right. It kind of feels like this is one.
If
that would
he
go the
wants to stay in
distance.
Milwaukee. Maybe. Possibly.
I told my niece is the biggest Giannis fan, loves the Bucks, follows him all the time, watches old game footage. Said if Giannis goes anywhere else, she is too. She's also going to follow the team. This is where she goes. She's big into Giannis now. But speaking of celebrities, who was your very first sports hero?
Probably Reggie White.
Okay, yeah,
Reggie White,
92
yeah.
is hard to not love. I grew up loving Reggie too.
Well, I mean, my Cub Scouts Pinewood Derby car was 92 for Reggie White. So yeah, probably
Reverend.
Reggie. Yeah.
Okay, I would say that's probably one of mine too. But what about celebrity crushes? So you got your sports fan. So if you're going back and really gonna nerd out and out yourself, what was the big first celebrity crush that you had back in the day?
Kelly Kapowski.
90210?
Saved by the Bell.
Oh, Saved by the Bell. That's right.
She was later on in 90210.
But you're from the
Tiffany Amber
saved
Thiessen,
days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Still to this day, or just only back in the Kelly vibe?
Oh, she's still. Yeah.
So if you're gonna put yourself in the hallway, would you be Zach? Would you be AC Slater? Would you be Screech?
I'm not Screech.
I have a vote.
I know you'd vote for that one, but I'm not that smart.
Okay.
I'll go Zach.
You think you're a Zach Morris kind of guy?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that would be your first. Did your wife have a first crush? We'll even out the scales with celebrity crushes.
I don't know who her first. It was probably I know of one, but I don't know if this was her first one. Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys.
Oh yeah.
So.
And they're kind of the boy bands are kind of making the rounds again. NSYNC is they're kind of rumbling about a tour because the Trolls movie's coming out. They haven't committed, but it sounds like they're leaning that direction.
Yeah.
All right. Well, more random roulette questions. You got to pick a number this time, though, between 1 and 27. Let's spin the wheel and make you answer this today.
23.
All right. Something that you would rather cook than order out.
Rather cook than order out.
Where would your skills fall on the food?
Probably a steak.
Yeah?
I don't trust anybody else.
So are you medium rare? It's only medium rare.
Medium rare, medium. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No ketchup.
No. Oh God, no.
Okay,
no.
just making sure. Now, what's the reverse? What's something you would rather order out because every time you try to make it, it's just not worth the effort?
Ooh. That's a good one. I'd have to think about that one.
Pizza?
Yeah, that's a good one. Probably.
Because I always think there are some places that do pizza way better than any home pizza turns out. Because in your head, it's like going to go really well and you're going to have this great pizza night as a family.
Yeah.
And inevitably something goes wrong and it's not that great.
Yep.
Pizza's an easier order out, I would think.
I agree. That's a good one. Yep.
All right, pick your number, bud.
Let's
2
go,
to 27.
Let's go last one, 3.
What was the last book you read that you would not recommend?
Ooh.
The History of Saved by the Bell?
I'd read that in a heartbeat.
Probably draw pictures and hearts around Kelly. Saved by the Bell had a board game?
Yeah.
Ha! I did not know that.
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to think of. I don't know.
Well, okay, I'll make it easier. What's the last book you read that you would pass along?
The sports one I talked about, and I just blanked on its name. I'll tell everybody after the break.
Well, you're Saved by the Bell.
Yes, that or any Goosebump books since we're throwing it back. How about that?
R.L. Stein.
All right, second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning of September 20th. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. Coming up at about an hour, a little less than an hour from now, we'll do some stock reports, whose stocks are falling, whose stocks are rising. You can play along with us by hitting us up with some texts, tweets, Facebook posts, comments on the video stream, all that good stuff out there. We're going to get to some baseball talk coming up here in just a little bit. But first, we got some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Ansay Associates. Let's go with 1876. Back in the good old days, Candy Cummings for Hartford pitched 2 complete games in one day. He won 14-4 and 8-4. Jim Callaghan pitched the first no-hitter in Chicago White Sox history. Babe Ruth, 1927, hit his 60th home run of the season. He beat his own record of 59 that he set in 1921. Let's go. Willie Mays in 1973 announced that he would retire at the end of this season. 1973 as well, same day, same year, in an exhibition tennis match, Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs in 3 straight sets. The event is viewed as a milestone in women's sports. Let's go with 1982. The NFL Players Association announced that a strike would begin at the completion of the Packers-Giants game on Monday night. 1984, Pete Rose recorded his 100th hit of the season. It was the 22nd consecutive season he had recorded at least 100 hits in a season. Tony Gwynn, 1986, stole 5 bases in one game against Houston. 1987, Walter Payton scored his 107th touchdown to break the NFL record held previously by Jim Brown. And 1998, Cal Ripken Jr. ended his record streak of playing in 2,632 games. He had played in every game since May 30th, 1982. Those are just a few, well, a little bit more than a few sports nuggets of the day. Again, brought to you by Ansay Associates. Let's talk some baseball here in case you missed it last night, overnight. Shohei Ohtani underwent a procedure. He's expected to return as a hitter opening day 2024, but not as a pitcher until 2025. How much do you think this will affect his massive contract that we all thought would set some insane records this offseason? A lot, a little, none at all. What do you say, Luke?
I think a little, because part of the value of Shohei Ohtani is being able to do both things in a given season, and he won't be able to in the nearest term when he would be close to a peak of physical capability. Like, would he be able to do this in 10 years? Probably not. Next year, without an injury, of course, you would expect him to be able to do that. So, yeah, it takes off the ceiling, unless, of course, there's some owner that's like, yeah, we're going to give you what we would have paid you anyway. That again, is the all it takes is one kind of situation. So I think it's down a bit. I think he'll be back to pitch. Ultimately, he says that, and then you're like, well, will he? Yeah, I think he will. Will he be as effective? I'm not sure as effective, but I don't think he would be like a guy you throw out every 6 days for cleanup in the bottom of the 6th. I think he'll be close to it.
This is be a second one on that same elbow, which is a concern, obviously there.
Mm-hmm.
My question would be, because I'm going to assume that he's going to at least try to be a starting pitcher again. But if it doesn't work, does he become a bullpen option?
I would think he would.
Or does he switch to a regular fielding position? First base, straight up DH, whatever the case may be.
From what I understand, he is bound and determined to be a starting pitcher. Bullpen is off the table for him. That's what he wants to do. Now, will his arm allow it? Is the other story.
And he could still have a Hall of Fame career. Look at John Smoltz.
Right. But Ohtani would have to put together a lot more years of being a starting pitcher like Smoltz had. Smoltz had what? I'm trying to remember exactly how many years of being a starting pitcher, but it was long enough. It was like well over a decade. Ohtani's nowhere close to that. So
he can still be a Hall of Fame by being a closer or bullpen.
He
know,
could be.
option.
He'd have to be a really, really good one. Now, this is Shohei Ohtani we're talking about, so maybe he would be a really, really good one. I would be curious to hear. I don't want to do the Hall of Fame debate right now, but how close is he to the Hall of Fame based on what he's done in his career?
Well, before he had this earlier in the season, we asked the question, is he already a top 20 baseball player of all time? And it was a resounding yes.
Yeah, that's right. Now, of course, I think we weren't anticipating an injury that changes the dynamic going forward because you're like, well, he's going to keep doing this. Well, maybe he's.
Well, maybe that's the question. Now with the injury, has that changed
Yeah.
for people? Is he still a top 20 or does he fall out? Is he top 50? Top 75?
Because we're also trying to assess something that we haven't seen.
And the thing is, too, with baseball contracts, we got to remember it's not like the NFL ones. Baseball's all guaranteed, baby.
Yeah.
So whatever money you give that man, you got to pay him.
Yeah.
So you're taking the risk too with the arm and such.
As the Angels are learning with Anthony Rendon, that's turned out real well. I'm not going to pull him out of top 20 until I see what he does post injury. It's an incomplete right now, but that could change it a lot. But we won't know till next spring, and especially not till spring of 2025. But I think we can start to assess if his hitting is off next year. Okay, then the injury really made a difference. And I know hitting and pitching are different physical things to do, but then we would know. I'm going to say he's still top 20 till I see further evidence otherwise. I guess it also depends on who really wants him contractually speaking.
Well, I think regardless too, as long as he's in the lineup, he's going to put butts in the seats initially.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're going to see him more times than not. Still, I mean, you're going to almost, unless something happens, 100 games next year. You know, in the lineup, hitting at some point. So
yeah, and so like let's go with what most of us presume would be the most likely option, which would be the Dodgers if he does leave. And the impression I'm getting through media is that it's looking more like he's going to leave the Angels at this point. But this seems to vacillate. But right now it's more that he leaves. So let's say he goes to the Dodgers. I think he would sure help out their lineup. Like imagine a Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts trio in the middle of the Dodger lineup next year. How do you like that? And then
well, I mean, it's already pretty good behind the Braves, the top two. So
right.
Yeah.
So I don't expect the Braves to, as even though they've got a lot of really good long-term contracts with their players, I don't expect them to put up such mammoth offensive numbers every year. There's an ebb and flow to that. They may end up putting together a wave of like big, think like Big Red Machine style, like year in and year out. They're always really good offensively. They're going to be as good this year. Next year, probably not. I mean, if Shohei Ohtani goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's going to be Braves Dodgers for, I would say, at least the next 2 years as the top two in the National League. And other teams might get close to them, but those two would be like two of the three slots, if you will, if you're doing top three, guaranteed. I think the Dodgers are probably almost guaranteed there anyway, but definitely so otherwise if Ohtani goes to the Dodgers. And I think he probably, if you ask me right now, what do you think Shohei Ohtani is going to do? I've changed my position. I think he goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I'm sticking with Seattle. Seattle's going to pull the trigger on him. So
I think I'd rather see him go to Seattle.
I think everybody would rather see him go to Seattle besides Dodgers fans. So and besides Major League Baseball. So
right.
Other than that, yeah, go Seattle. Come on, Ohtani. Just I mean, if you spend time there in the offseason, you live there or whatever it is, just make it your permanent residence.
Well, that's the whole creature comfort thing with him. He likes to be in spots where he feels good, I guess. I am curious. I keep hearing this bubbling up, the whole, like, what are the Ohtani rules? How much leeway does he have to do anything? He hasn't talked about this in a very long time. The assorted injuries, everything that he, like, not showing up for the team photo, just kind of didn't do it. At what point does a team say, okay, yeah, cool, but hey, look, you are part of this team. You can't just be your own entity here. We're paying you hundreds of millions of dollars, way more than you have been making before. What's the trade-off with that? And which team is going to be the most lenient? Because that might be the team where he goes. Simple as that. If they go, well, no, you keep doing what you did with the Angels. That's fine. As long as you produce for us on the field, we're good. And that might be his final choice. Maybe that is Seattle. Maybe it is LA. Maybe it's some other team we haven't conceived of. And I would bet there's going to be some other team that gets into this, and I've heard that mentioned before, that there's going to be some surprise team that gets involved. Don't know who.
Probably not going to be the Brewers at this point, but Brewers magic number down to 6, so they're getting closer to hitting up or clinching that playoff spot here. They picked up the win last night. Adrian Hauser is going to be on the mound tonight for the Crew as they hope to make that magic number just a little bit smaller. Speaking of contracts, I've got a plea for the Brewers.
Okay.
All right, I got a plea, but we'll take a break first. So, a little tease. Talk some Brewers, talk some baseball, more baseball coming up after these quick words. Are you ready to discover a hidden treasure trove of home improvement wonders while giving back to your community? Look no further than Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. At the Restore, you will find ever-changing selection of quality furniture, appliances, building materials, and so much more, all at an unbeatable price. But here's the best part. Every purchase you make at the Restore supports their mission to build affordable homes for families in need right here in the Chippewa Valley. It's shopping with a purpose, making your house a home while making dreams come true for others. So whether you're looking for a stylish new piece for your living room or tackling a DIY project, make the Restore your first stop. Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, where every item tells a story and every purchase builds a brighter future. So get on shopping at the Restore, located at 145 North Claremont Avenue. Brew Crew picking up another win last night against the Cardinals. Try again tonight to lower that magic number to win the division down to 6. But with the win, too, take solace in this, Brewers fans. You officially eliminated the Cardinals from playoff contention. So congratulations. You got that. The Redbirds cannot make a comeback. They got her done. All right. How about that?
Rasputin is dead. Oh, my gosh. It happened.
It did. It did.
Wow.
And maybe getting closer to clinching up this division over the Cubbies. They're up 6 right now in the standings. Magic number at 6 to clinch this division. And, well, we know about the pitching and starters, bullpen and such have been a big reason because of this. But one other player who has been Mr. Consistent in terms of offensive production so far, he's also been another big reason for this, and that's William Contreras. So far, this let's break it down by the month. September, he's hitting 306, slugging percentage of a 4.58. In August, he was a little bit down, still hitting 280 though, slugging 470. July, monster month for him, 365 with a 563 slugging percentage. And that was, he had May and June were a little bit down. June, he was hitting 238. May was 194. He started off the season, though, hitting 297. So overall this season, William Contreras, their brand new catcher that they acquired in an offseason trade, hitting 283. That's higher than his career average of 272. His on-base percentage is 361, higher than his career numbers. And his OPS, 819. He's a career 815. Brewers, do what you do best. Sign up your long-term guys for cheap deals. Do it with Contreras right now. Go give him like a 5, 6, 7-year deal worth like $50-some million. Lock the guy up. Lock it up. Get it done. Do it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of rest, but Brewers, we know the Brewers have done this a lot with their pitchers, right? They've done that with their pitchers. Go do this for William Contreras. He's 25 years old right now. He'll be 26 in December. But I know he's still pre-arbitration and such. Lock it up. See if you can get a long-term extension done for William Contreras right now.
Oh, hey, they don't have to really pay for any new stadium upgrades. Apparently, that's just not a thing the Brewers have to worry about. But I guess
Brewers are staying in Milwaukee.
Well, I hope so. They are going to stay in Milwaukee. That's a whole nother story. But
through 2050, they will.
If that plan gets passed. By the way, the whole tailgating thing seems to be like bubbling up right now. Like, should we put buildings where the parking lot? Separate that to Contreras. They should have the money to sign Contreras long term. You want to be competitive. Brewer fans show up. They show up to bad games. They really show up to good games. Bad teams, good teams, same thing. They show up and then they really show up. You will have a better chance of being competitive if you sign William Contreras to a long-term deal. I can 100% co-sign on this. He's not going to be the best offensive catcher in the league, but if you are even kind of a good offensive catcher, that's great.
Brewers did this. I thought they did it with somebody, and the name I thought of, I just double-checked it, and they did this with him. Jonathan Lucroy.
Ah, yes.
So Jonathan Lucroy signed a pre-arbitration extension, which would be the same for William Contreras. He's pre-arbitration yet. But back in 2012, Jonathan Lucroy signed a 5-year, $11 million contract. Was it worth it? I think it was worth it for Jonathan Lucroy. I think that was a pretty good deal for the Brewers.
He was
I
a
should
core.
say.
He became a core member of that team for a while. So yes, I offensive catchers are a probably one of the stronger assets relative to the position in Major League Baseball. So yes, they should find a way to keep Contreras as long as possible, understanding that being a catcher means, and I'm saying this having seen this with my team and a really good offensive catcher, might have to change positions at a certain point depending on how the body goes. I mean, maybe we have a Yadier Molina and keeps catching. Now Molina's offense wasn't that good towards the end, but he was really valuable as a catcher. William Contreras, he's pretty good as a catcher. He's really good as a batter right now. So maybe he transitions to DH or some outfield position. Point is, you want that bat. When your overall offensive ability is not that great, it's not as bad as it could be, but it's not that great. Keep a definite offensive prowess player.
We are assuming that within the next couple of years here, the Brewers will be undergoing a younger transformation. Yeah, right. Younger transformation where not only the starting pitchers, but eventually, that outfield's probably going to be Jackson Churio, Sal Frelick, is in there too. Garrett Mitchell will, maybe be on there. One of those guys is going to have to be gone, whether it's like Mitchell or Weimer or somebody like that.
Yeah.
At some point, whether that means Christian Yelich is full-time DH. I know Brandon has mentioned first base as a possibility. Sort of thing. You got Bryce Terang, who I think they're still high on. Could he be the future starting shortstop? Because now you kind of wonder, I know at the beginning of the year or even at the end of last year, we were like, do you give Willie Adames a contract now because of all the money that, shortstops are getting? But I think some people are maybe a little hesitant on that now, considering what he was doing for the most part of the season and not hitting over there. So, we're assuming that eventually a lot of these youngsters are going to be coming up and being full-time players over there. I think if you're the Brewers and you can get something done similar to how you did Jonathan Lucroy or Freddie Peralta, and Aaron Ashby did the same thing, and I know we're still waiting for him to come back, that'd be a huge win. Now, the other side of this is that we can't just say, and the Brewers just can't say, hey, here, sign this, and we're good to go. Contreras also has to agree to it.
Right. Players of late in Major League Baseball do seem to be signing some long-term contracts, which makes me feel
the money is going to be the main thing, though. Does he want, I can't see William Contreras, and this was over 10 years ago, so it's a little bit different, a 5-year, $11 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit more than like $2-ish million per year for William Contreras.
Who was the last catcher that was signed to a big deal in baseball? Was it?
I'll look it up. I got Spot Track coming up here now. So
yeah, that'll tell you what the guidance is on that. And then of course account for when the last labor agreement was. So I think there's been one. It'll come to me as soon as you say who it is.
Yeah. So JT Realmuto is the highest paid.
That's
one.
who I was thinking. Realmuto.
Yeah.
And what was his contract?
So his salary is $23.9 million, but he signed a 5-year, $115.5 million contract with the Phillies in 2021.
Contreras is not going to get that, but Realmuto is considered one of the best in the game.
His brother now, Contreras' brother with the Cardinals, he is tied for the 5th highest one. He signed a 5-year, $87.5 million deal.
And he actually faced some criticism early this year with the Cardinals. But that could also be the dynamic of the team too. I don't know that that's Wilson Contreras.
There's some huge drops with these payrolls here too. So like James McCann from Baltimore, 4th highest paid, $12.2 million if I'm rounding up.
But the Orioles don't spend yet on a lot of their players.
Yasmani Grandal, former Milwaukee Brewer great, is actually the 3rd highest paid catcher at $18.3 million per year. And then Omar Narvaez, former Brewer, tied for the 7th highest paid catcher right now, $8 million.
So I would think, 5 years, $100 million? 5 years, $95 million.
Oh, I was thinking, can you do 5 years, $50 million, and then it's like $10 million? That puts you around top 5 paid right now.
Okay, because what's again? What was Wilson Contreras's contract?
Wilson, he's getting 10 per, so he signed a 5-year, 87.5. So he's getting it goes up after these couple years.
Okay,
So
yeah,
so like next year it jumps up to 18.
that's where I think William Contreras is going to make his demand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think
The escalators.
Yep. And understanding more revenue in the game, that's where the contracts keep going up. It's like the quarterback contract game in the NFL. Just figure that the next one's going to be bigger than whatever the last one was.
Yeah.
I
Brewers backup catcher, actually, Victor Caratini,
Mhm.
23rd highest paid catcher in Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah, well,
He's higher than Contreras.
that's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
I think $5.95, somewhere around that, seems to make sense. Or it could be 4 or 6, but then scale the numbers. The average annual salary would be the same. But if we're doing 5-year contracts, I think $5.95. I could see $500 again if with contract inflation, with revenues being what they are. That's probably what it's going to take to keep William Contreras. Would that be a good deal? Would you take that?
20 mil per year.
Yeah. For an offensive catcher.
I don't know if I would be good with that. I don't know.
For a team that seems
For a
to
team
struggle.
I mean, let's face it, they're a budget team, so I don't know if I could do 20 million if I'm being realistic. If I had an open checkbook, heck yeah, I would be, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. Then of course now we got to factor in the Mets with everything because of the Brewers connection. So
yeah. William Contreras to the Mets.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Hey, get some more outfield prospects.
Right.
Quick trade them off. I think that's what it's going to take. I think they're going to re-sign him. This seems to be a more valuable spot, and they can work with their younger guys for the time being. Not all will stay with the team. Well, not all are going to pan out, but not all will stay with the team. They're going to kind of manage those guys. But a guy like Contreras, I think he's, I don't want to say unique enough because, there's no such thing as unique enough. You are or you aren't. He's different enough at his position in a good way that makes his contract exceptionally valuable compared to the other guys. And again, their service time is not anywhere close. So I think they actually can, quote unquote, afford this one.
So how about this? Because if you give Contreras a 5-year, $100 million deal where you're talking $20 million per year for a team like the Brewers, that is a cornerstone player.
Mm-hmm.
Should William Contreras be a cornerstone player?
It's who else would it be on the team right now?
I mean, contract-wise, it has to be Yelich, but it's been up and down at this point.
It's not Rowdy. I mean, looking through like the top batters of the season, and not even counting pitchers. Look in the batters. Not Tellez, not Terang. Adames is good. You could make a case. Not Anderson, not Taylor, definitely not Weimer.
See, when I think of cornerstone players offensively, I'm thinking of the guys like Freddie Freeman, Acuna Jr., those type of players.
Yeah, I mean, relative to the league. But what's Freddie Freeman's contract? Or Mookie Betts' contract?
I'll have to look that up right here, but a lot.
Yeah. And I know Ronald Acuna Jr.'s got really long one, but that's because of the way the Braves do their contracts. They sign young.
So Freeman signed a 6-year $162, 162 million.
So
that's number 1 cap hit for Dodgers and first base, and number 22 in all Major League Baseball.
Jeez.
Look at that.
It's getting old by this point.
Mookie Betts, he's got a 12-year, $365 million one. 27th cap hit just for this year. But yeah.
What's the annual on those?
For this year, Mookie Betts is 25. Yeah, his is going to go up to about 30, it looks like, for adjusted salary starting next year.
Okay.
So.
For 30 for next year. I mean, 20 is 2/3 of that. If you look at it from that perspective, I mean, 20 million is a lot of money, but 20 million compared to 30 million, it's not that close. And
Mookie Betts, though, is also hitting .311 with 39 home runs compared to Contreras, who's .283 with 17 home runs. Somebody smarter than me in math, tell me what, how do you adjust that to compare, like, a third of that? You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. That's, again, when were those stats? Repeat those numbers again. It's home runs, 17 home runs versus, was it 30 homers for Mookie?
Mm-hmm.
But he's also really good with leadoff homers, which makes a pretty big difference. He does not have to be one of the home run hitters of the league. I mean, we're close to 2/3 right there, 30 to 17, 30 million to 20 million. And I do think it could be 5 years, 90. I might be overstating it a bit. It depends on what a market would be for William Contreras. Because when is he like a total free agent?
William Contreras, I'll have to.
Because I was looking at Baseball Reference, it looks like it's still a little ways down.
Yeah,
because
he's not even he's pre-arbitration right now.
Right, so you still have some time.
But that's where the original of the question is coming from. Do you do what the Brewers have done for many times and lock up somebody very cheap? Because you're not going to. It's Freddie Peralta.
Right. See,
it's Jonathan Lucroy, where he signed that 5-year, $11 million. He clearly outplayed that during his time with the Brewers.
And it's like the Braves, where they sign them young. They give them big contracts, but they sign them young.
And that's where I'm getting at with Contreras. Like 5 years and like $20 million per year. That's not getting it by the cheap.
See, now
that's where I'm like, let's talk now. Get it done.
Yeah, for sure. They should be negotiating now. Get him locked up for a while so you can work with your other guys, with your Freliks and your Mitchells, et cetera, et cetera.
Can we sign Jackson Chourio to a 6-year, $120 million deal right now? Let's just get it done. He's in AAA now. He'll be on the Major League roster next year at some point. So let's get it done. Start building a statue before his debut.
Wow. He better be pretty good that first game.
Just rename a street already. Just do it.
Knock down Robin Yount, put in Chourio, for a statue out there.
Give him Robin Yount's number for crying out loud.
Retire his number right now. I think
this is Graham Mertz all over again with the Badgers.
Gosh.
Not saying Jackson won't be good, but the hype is unreal right now.
Apparently, Graham Mertz's wife is going viral right now.
Graham Mertz is married? Dude, you're in college. Don't get married in college.
Or was it girlfriend? Whatever it was. Graham Mertz's significant other. I don't know.
Was this another AJ McMusburger is going to get all lathered up?
I don't. Oh, wow. I think I need to take a shower after hearing that. I don't know. There was just some picture like, hey, he really scored well. Like, okay, great, awesome. Well, he's a Division I college football quarterback. Okay, surprise that happens. Also did not match the hype. Do you think Chourio's going to match the hype?
I hope so. I think he will be a good player. The thing that I'm worried about is, are Brewers fans going to have that bar so flipping high that if he's not consistently hitting like 320, 300, whatever, are they going to be disappointed? Like, I just feel that's my one concern. Are they going to have it so incredibly high that he'll have a good game, but since it's not a great game, people are going to be like, what the heck is happening with him?
Yeah.
What in the world has happened with Jackson Chourio? It's going to be so incredibly high.
Is he the?
I almost feel bad for him.
Is he the most? Here's a classic sports cliche: highly touted prospect that you can recall in the last 10 years.
Yes, the closest
above
one,
Brinson.
Yeah,
above.
They're
Phillips.
doing video like documentary things and like following along. You've got beat reporters for the Brewers who always post up a tweet whenever he hits a home run in the minors. I mean, it's it's unreal. The hype around him, and And I get it. The guy's been really good, but I just, is it setting up? And I use the Graham Mertz comparison because that's exactly what we did before he played a snap for the Badgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hyped up. Whether that was, the failures of that, was that him? Was that Paul Chris or what? And then his first game as a starter, what does he do? He goes out, was it Illinois? Threw 5 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes is tweeting about him.
I was telling my wife about it that night after I saw the stats. I'm like, you're going to know this name, Graham Mertz. Now, I was like, okay, now that he's performed, I'm going to tell her because she doesn't follow college football. Like, you will know this name. And then
nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Good point.
After that.
Yeah.
So I would say yes. And maybe it's not fair too because it is 2023 and now everything's more out there, But I mean, you go to Brewers.com. The third headline on Brewers.com. Watch Churio in his second game at AAA. Free tonight. Fifth headline, number 1 prospect Churio set for AAA debut.
This is kind of reminding me, actually, now as a Twins fan, now I'm starting to see the parallels, like Walker Jenkins, their first-round draft pick this year. And I've seen a lot of Walker Jenkins highlights, Walker Jenkins this, Walker Jenkins that. I think it may just be that coincidental that there's 2 of them right now that are getting a lot of hype, but they are getting a lot of hype. I hope they pan out on the major league level. And I don't know that that's going to happen. But no reason to think that they won't.
Mm-hmm.
I think they absolutely can. But at least Churio's a long, long ways away from even demanding a long-term contract, too. A long time to go.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully. So I guess to answer all of this, I would say maybe they can get away with 5. Or the Wilson Contreras thing might be the basement. They do 590.
That's a big investment.
It's a lot, but he might be like, well, look at him.
That's the thing. Is it comes down to the player, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he says I won't go any lower, but I'll sign 5 years, $90 million, bam, go, you're in, you're done. It's a lot, but you take that because if the other option is starting to go above 100, yeah, and don't find any way to offend him at end of. However,
yeah. The video thing I was talking about was when the Brewers they launched. It's called The Freshman. It's a documentary series where it's not just Jackson, but they talked to Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Strain, Joey Weimer. But my question is, if Jackson Churio wasn't Jackson Churio, are they doing this? I question whether they would or not.
Probably not. By the way, speaking of Graham Mertz, this literally just came up in my Twitter feed, and I don't follow Graham Mertz stuff at all. But this was a retweet from a Wisconsin sports media guy that I do follow from Jacksonville.com. So that's like main paper down in Jacksonville, saying Graham Mertz, better QB option than many thought, gives the Gators a fighting chance to be a good team. New column out.
No.
So maybe Graham Mertz will be that 5-star prospect just in the SEC, not in Wisconsin.
I honestly think a lot depends with these youngsters. You got to look at the style of play. You know what I mean? Like the style of, does that skill set work with what they're good at?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
what would be your thoughts? That I don't think this is going to happen. But what if Graham Mertz suddenly goes on a tear? He's not going to win the Heisman this year because of Caleb Williams. Unless Caleb Williams is like a injury midseason, and that's before we get to Drake May. What if Graham Mertz is a Heisman Trophy finalist?
Oh, stop it! Now we're just getting ridiculous.
I know, but
it's not happening.
What if something clicks?
That's not.
How will Wisconsin fans react to that?
Graham Mertz, this is his final year, isn't it? So
yeah,
he ain't doing that.
I don't think so either.
No. So, all right, we got to take a break. Before we get to stock reports, is Matt LaFleur sick and tired of David Bakhtiari? Clickbait. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we're going to talk about something. Matt LaFleur had some interesting comments about David Bakhtiari the other day, talking about his knee and turf. We'll tell you what he had to say in case you missed it. Coming up in just a little bit. Wake up and smell the aroma of perfection that is Cabin Coffee. Start your day right with their handcrafted, locally roasted coffee beans brewed to perfection just for you. From a classic Americano to flavorful lattes and refreshing iced coffees, Cabin Coffee has your caffeine cravings covered. At Cabin Coffee, they're passionate about serving you the freshest, most delicious brews. And if you're in need of a quick bite to eat for breakfast or lunch, they got you covered with a menu full of their favorite breakfast items and delicious sandwiches. So swing on over to River Prairie and Altoona and experience the taste of coziness and comfort. Oh, the good old turf versus regular grass. David Bakhtiari didn't play in the game on Sunday against Atlanta. The other day, Matt LaFleur was talking a little bit with the media, saying his knee is injured. There was swelling. Asked whether Bakhtiari would have played on grass at Lambeau. LaFleur saying, I don't believe so. When a reporter, according to Pro Football Talk, when a reporter began a follow-up question with, just to clarify, LaFleur interrupted. That's it. Just to clarify, I'm done talking about it. I'm not talking about it. Getting a little feisty, Matt LaFleur over there about Bakhtiari.
Drama in Green Bay.
And I know he made a comment, too, that Bakhtiari is going to be questionable all season long already. Week 2 in the books. Questionable all season long.
Okay.
So
At least we don't have to worry about what the injury report will say in a given week. Okay.
We've got load management now in NFL.
Well, I like the notion is absurd that David Bakhtiari is going to hold out of artificial turf games.
Is it though?
Okay, in one way it
for
makes
as
sense.
vocal as he is.
True, but no one's done that in the NFL. I don't think there's anyone you were going to look at someone's playing and gone, they only.
But as somebody of the caliber of Bakhtiari, he can.
I guess he probably could, but that.
And they can use his knee injury as an excuse. My only thing, and I'm not trying to call him out. Remember, David Bakhtiari did not tear his ACL on turf either. He did it on the Packers practice field. Mm-hmm. And I think because of a lot of this talk around Bakhtiari too, people assume or people kind of forget he didn't tear it on turf. He tore it on Packers practice field too. And I think that kind of gets lost in the conversation. And I think people just assume Bakhtiari's knee injury came on turf like Aaron's did. Just wanted to say that.
The interesting thing is there are only 4 more games that the Packers play on artificial turf this season and none until the Thanksgiving game.
Right. But there's also 2 in that final stretch in December.
That is true. Would he... Okay, let's say David Bakhtiari has now made this a principal thing of, I will not play on artificial turf, and I hope other players start boycotting turf.
Well, that answers one question. He ain't playing for the Jets and his buddy Aaron Rodgers then.
Well, very true. So if the Packers are trying to beat out the Lions for the NFC North Division, and depending on how everything goes, if it becomes clear that, loser's not going to get the 7th seed, it's David Bakhtiari, potentially healthy towards December, going to sit out the game at Carolina, going to sit out the game in Minnesota and just say, I ain't playing on turf. And then if the Packers lose those games and barely miss the playoffs, point to that and say, this is why we need to get rid of turf. I would have played otherwise. How's that going to go over?
Not going to go over well.
No.
Not well at all.
No, I don't think so. I also don't think that's what he's doing, because that is a pretty extreme stance to take with regard to the turf thing, which, again, this is not going to change anytime soon. The owners are not going to change this. Again, I would point anyone who thinks, they got the money, which they probably do, but they're going to spend it on that? No. I would point anyone back to good old Andrew Brandt. He talked about it a lot in his pod last week, saying this is a collective bargaining issue. The owners make their money because they find other ways to use their facilities. That's how they sometimes got.
It's concerts.
Exactly.
It's basketball games.
Right.
It's all about the coin. Yeah.
And if the players feel this passionately about it, and they do, fair enough. That's okay. And
My question is, though, too, like for your stadium, is it even possible in a dome without a retractable roof to grow grass?
I don't think it is. Maybe through those like
What about a
lighting.
greenhouse stadium? How about that?
Yeah, but
make it very humid and moisture.
Yeah, like open up the big doors when it's a very humid day.
Yes.
It's just like
Let's make
turning
a
off the air conditioning.
greenhouse stadium.
Essentially like that. But now you've seen those things that they put over grass fields when they need to give them extra light. It's like those beams and they like roll them out over the grass fields. I mean, maybe there's some, but again, that's a multi-purpose stadium. So what do you do when you're bringing in Metallica and you're bringing in Billy Joel and that sort of stuff? Really?
Remember when people came after me a couple years ago, Luke, when I said no concerts on my grass at Lambeau Field? I don't want anything screwing up my grass at Lambeau Field.
So
now look what we're talking about.
Well, okay.
Just saying.
The one place that's going from turf to grass soon is Buffalo. I'm wondering if they're thinking their stadium is going to be akin to Lambeau, that it's basically a Bills stadium.
Mm-hmm. They'd be stupid not to copy what Green Bay does.
Right. And I think in a lot of ways, they are the parallel to Green Bay. And I wonder if that's what they're thinking there as well. I mean, they've had turf since the current stadium. I still call it Rich Stadium going back to the early 70s. They were on grass at the old War Memorial Stadium where The Natural was filmed. So I think they can pull it off. It depends on the hybrid. You don't hear people, this might have been the Brandt podcast where he said, you don't hear people complain about the grass at Lambeau, really complain about the grass at Lambeau in December. You see it at other places, Chicago, but not really Green Bay. They figured it out.
Washington.
Right.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, and look at Tennessee. You've seen some really bad fields. They look ugly, like yellow, green with the strips of like replaced grass by December.
And they're going to turf.
They did it this year.
Yeah.
Did you see the highlights from Sunday?
Yep.
They're on an artificial turf field. I think part of it's that. Part of it's also prep for the new stadium that's going to be like Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. Except they can't roll out the field, so they can't have like Allegiant where you can have a grass field. They won't in Tennessee. Minnesota's too tough. Short of either A, technology advancing, which maybe it could, or doing a Real Madrid. And how much money is that going to cost?
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL would have to fund that. It wouldn't be fair to tell turf stadiums teams, you've got to pay. The grass stadium teams don't. That would have to be an NFL pay thing. That's going to cost a lot.
Shared costs amongst all owners is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. So then this leads to collective bargaining. And what are the players going to give up? They've given up a lot. You're going to give up something else for this?
Right.
It's not happening.
No.
It is not happening. So David Bakhtiari, if that is his biggest complaint, unless he might just be spouting off about it. Okay, fine. And that's fair. But get used to it. It's going to be there.
Because, there's a thing to me that I'm just kind of wondering. And again, it's just pure speculation here, but really quick. I do believe this is Bakhtiari's final year in Green Bay. And if he continues to play, there's a team that obviously really needs offensive line help. Would he say no to reuniting with Aaron Rodgers next year because it's turf?
That is a fascinating question, and I don't have an easy answer for that.
I just, like, if it's that, if he is that gung-ho about it, he has to say no, right?
Yeah.
He has to say no. And then that list of teams that he would be willing to play with goes really small. Incredibly small.
Mm-hmm.
2 in. We got one more to go. Stock reports coming up next. Third and final hour kicking off this Wednesday morning. Hopefully you're all off to a fantastic start. Coming up here, we'll get back to some more baseball talk too, a little bit more football talk as we finish up this final hour. But we got stock reports to get to here. You ready to do a little stock reports there, Lucas?
Yes, let's.
All right. I will let you lead things off. Whose stock is rising for you?
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, that's a weird.
Man.
Oh man, alive! He's
Man,
on
wow.
pace to break Michael Thomas's receptions record right now.
Yeah, they were talking about that on Peter King's podcast. His most recent one, and they talked to, can't remember who it was, but it's towards the end of the pod after the Rich Eisen interview. That was the thing I was listening to, which is solid chat as always. It's always good to hear from Rich Eisen. But they started talking about the Rams' approach to scouting and development. This happened with Cooper Kupp. This is happening now. Now, again, 2 games, but it's happening with Puka Nacua, who didn't have the best evaluation going into the draft. It's all stock up at this point. I don't know how the season will end. There are 15 more games to go, but right now, definite stock up. I was pondering adding him to my fantasy team. Could not do that. Anytime you decide on your own, I'm going to seek out, see if this guy's available. I don't even know if I need him. I'm going to see if I can grab him. That is a very good sign for that player's ability. Mm-hmm. So yes, Puka Nacua for sure going up.
My stock riser, if you remember when we were getting ready to make our picks for the football season, there was a team I really wanted to put in the Super Bowl, but I just didn't have the gonads to do it. The gonads to do it. They are my stock risers. And I'll reveal that team right now. The Miami Dolphins. I really, really, really like Mike McDaniel. I like him a lot.
Same. Like, my gosh, he is my favorite coach in the league, right? I mean, at this point, doing a race with a camera at the half, that's just like, it's beyond icing on the cake. Like, of course, Mike McDaniel would do that. Mm-hmm. To say nothing of his ability as a football coach, which is what matters the most.
Yep. Offensive, I know, again, just 2 games, but leading the league in total yards per game, 462.5. Tua is leading the league in passing yards per game. Yes, he's got Tyreek Hill. Yes, he's got Jalen Waddle and such, but still a big believer that the Vic Fangio defense is going to pay huge dividends when it comes down to the end here. But I really wanted to pick Miami before the season. I liked a lot of things that they had and what they did. And right now, I think maybe they're kind of making some noise, across the league. Like, hey, Dolphins might be, maybe for those who doubt it, maybe a little bit better.
Let's see. So
I'll tell you the Super Bowl matchup that I wanted, or I didn't necessarily want, but I was really close to picking. And I know I would have gotten more criticized than I did. Before the season started, I wanted to pick Dallas versus Miami. And right now, 2 weeks into it, I was like, dang it, maybe I should have. Looking good.
Because, okay, I'm looking at my picks. I had, actually, Dallas-Miami would aesthetically, and this is uniform guy talking.
Oh, yeah,
it would look really, really good. Shades of Super Bowl 6. Again, it's really early,
but we live game by game, week by week in football.
I just keep running with the whole, are the Saints a Super Bowl contender? Yeah, let's hold off a little bit on that. Charger, which of my picks seems the worst at this point? My division winners were Buffalo, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and the Chargers. My wild card teams were Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. And I said Cincinnati was going to start bad and get better. All along, I said that's what was going to happen.
I'm not sold on Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, but
that's like I kind of want to, like, the Chargers one seems shaky, but those are some close losses, and one of them was to Miami. So that Baltimore might get injured out of the season at a certain point. Then again, I was pondering Lamar Jackson as my stock riser. So because not putting Miami in, I am regretting that.
Miami is now going to win the division. Bold take, hot take, whatever you want to call it. Bold prediction.
Bold prediction. I was picking Pittsburgh on 2 grounds. I was believing some of the Kenny Pickett good news, and Mike Tomlin is good enough to get that team over the hump again. Like they're not going to miss it again, are they? Really? Well, maybe they are going to miss it again, and maybe it's Miami that's going to take that slot. Or maybe Cincinnati is that wounded they're not going to get over the hump, and that's where Miami goes. And this, presuming my predictions are that accurate.
I think it's time for everybody. I know there's got to be some of you listening right now. Bust out your 1990s Miami Dolphins starter winter jackets because they are for real.
I was at Verizon the other day, had to do some phone stuff, and the person helping me was a Floridian, just moved up to Wisconsin this year, wearing a Dolphins jersey.
Mm.
That would have been a 2000s era, the one when they had the navy drop shadow and the black trim, all that extra stuff on there. Yeah.
Who was it?
Like
the player.
Oh gosh, honestly, I did not pay.
Wait.
I know.
Uniform geek.
I know. Well,
doesn't
I was
pay attention
because
to
I was
the
paying
player.
more. I was paying more attention to the style of the uniform than the number. Unfortunately.
Oh. So early 2000s, who would it have been?
Would it have been like Zach Thomas or someone?
Could be. If it was Culpepper, I'd be a little impressed.
No, yeah, could have been Jason Taylor.
Yeah.
It would have had to have been one of those guys. Could have been Ricky Williams, I guess.
That too, yeah.
But it was from that era. I mean, the Dolphins.
Jay Fiedler.
The thing. Wow. See, this wasn't from the greatest era of the Dolphins, so it's probably pretty easy to pick out who that was. If I ever have to stop back into that store, I will definitely ask, and I will report back to you on that. I know we have at least 2 Dolphins fans that listen to the show. They've texted us before, so I'm curious their takes on this year's Miami. And look, Miami was like, they weren't my favorite team, but they were one of my early likes when I was a kid. Now, granted, that was because of the jersey colors, totally, because I was 6 at the time. So I kind of would like to see Miami go on a bit of a run. If I have to choose an AFC team, I might choose Miami. Might.
I just, as a kid.
McDaniel's helping too, by the way.
As a kid, first name Dan growing up, and when a guy named Dan Marino was playing, that was what I got called all the time. Dan Marino. I'm going to segue into my stock faller because it relates.
Go for it.
So my stock riser was the Dolphins. My stock faller is Aaron Rodgers' rehab. His rehab process of listening to Dolphins mating to help recover from his Achilles injury.
Yes, I am looking up Dolphins mating on YouTube right now.
You're going to get flagged, so just
I might get sent to HR over this one.
But come on, Aaron, for crying out loud! I mean, good Lord, dude. Love you, man, as a player, but sometimes maybe just keep everything to yourself.
Look, I am intrigued by how he wants to try different stuff. That good, like if that can work. Why not? I think they should give it a go. Can
we just call it Aaron Aquaman now? I mean, come on now. If he's going to be, swimming with the fishies or involved with that, let's just call him what he is. He's Aquaman.
Probably do something along those lines. We got some.
Don't play it. Okay, Flipper. I mean, that we could call him Flipper too, but. Good Lord. Remember that show? I watched that as a kid.
They call him Flipper. Wasn't that a Berman thing, too? Who was it? Flipper Anderson, I think?
Maybe, yeah.
Because I would always hear that on NFL. Yep, Flipper Anderson of the Rams. Yep, I remember that.
Like, Aaron. Dude, I know you're Rodgers. You can say whatever you want and probably get away with it, right? Probably could. Dolphins mating will help the healing process. Okay.
Are you glad he's not with the Packers anymore?
I miss the player. I miss the player. I miss the memories. Well, they're memories. They're good memories of on the field stuff. But I am so glad I don't have to lead off programs saying, again, I said it before the season. I'll be glad that I don't have to sit on pins and needles to see what he says on Tuesdays with Pat. And I know this wasn't Tuesday, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
And be like, what the heck did he mean by that?
Talking about Dolphins mating for a whole week.
Yeah.
Instead, only for 5 minutes.
And here's my other thing, too. I'm going to kind of call out McAfee here a little bit. If any other person in the world said that on a different program, I fully believe McAfee would have tore them apart. like just criticized him.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's Aaron and it's on his, hey, maybe there's something there. Or maybe we got to look into it.
It's
Nothing.
his bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, he's getting paid handsomely, so I don't think he's going to get.
And there's no way. I'm sorry. He ain't coming back for a playoff run. Because, first of all, if the Jets get to the postseason, Zach Wilson probably had something to do with it, right? Are you benching Zach Wilson then for a guy who literally hasn't played all season? I think you ride with that.
If Zach Wilson is that good, then yeah. By the way, the other thought crossed my mind. So what if they're about to pull a, here's an older reference, a 2001 Carolina Panthers, win the first game, lose out, and the New York Jets with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft select.
Oh, it's the Tim Duncan effect.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's
And what happens to I am probably the 7 millionth person to ponder this scenario after this past week. But it popped in my mind yesterday, like, what if the Jets really do go completely south? And like I don't think that's their floor is too high for that. They have enough talent. They're not going to be a 1-16 team. But what if everything does go wrong? They got Aaron Rodgers getting ready to come back for next year. And oh, guess what? Caleb Williams is ready to step in.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do you do? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is gone at that point, I would think. They're trading him off.
But the thing is, what's the cap hit, though, to that, too?
It's the Jets. They're going to make some stupid move to that. Oh, and then,
yeah, you get the number 1 pick, you got to draft Caleb Williams.
Of course.
You have to.
Of course.
You know what? Would they sit him behind a year? I don't know. I don't know. But that would
they trade out a number 1?
They better not.
That would be very Jets to do that. Or, okay, work with me on this one. So then, after his 1 season with the Jets.
No, he's not going to the Minnesota Vikings.
And they trade him to a team that has just decided not to bring back their quarterback, the 2024 Minnesota Vikings, led by one Aaron Charles Rodgers.
I will eat the hottest wing in the world if Aaron Rodgers is playing for the Vikings next year.
Bring it on.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
And then he's going to throw a whole bunch of bad passes in the 2024.
Do you want to know Aaron Rodgers' dead cap hit for the Jets if they were to move on from him?
I almost don't want to know, but how many tens of millions of dollars?
$66 million.
But hey, they got a quarterback on a rookie contract in Caleb Williams.
$66 million. Yeah, send him for a year. See how that goes. Oh, by the way, in 2025, $49 million. 2026, the prorated dead cap, $35 million.
I really shouldn't care about this, but part of me wants to do the whole Elmo chaos meme GIF thing with regard to the Jets. Just, I'm imagining a scenario where they're like 1-8, and this becomes a legitimate scenario of, oh my gosh, they're really going to be in position to draft Caleb Williams.
The one thing that I haven't really heard anybody kind of discuss, and maybe I missed it. I guess Sean Payton was right.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
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 He's kind of right. So.
Yeah, but then you watch Zach Wilson will have a good game against the Broncos.
Just
to throw off the whole thing.
I don't know what would be worse for the Jets at that point. Zach Wilson balls out and he makes the postseason and maybe even wins a game or two in the postseason. Then you're like, crap, what do we do next year with him? Or they just completely tank and get the number 1 pick. They're probably like, let's win a few games so we don't have to get in that situation. We just want to tie like an 11th pick, 12th pick, 10th pick, whatever.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Right, because I mean, if you're one or Drake May, it's like Drake May is going to get forgotten, and he's not going to get forgotten, of course. But relatively speaking, it's all the tanking for Caleb Williams.
Oh, I got something better, man. I got something better.
Ooh, what?
They get like the 2nd or 3rd pick. Deion's boy, Sanders.
Shadur Sanders.
Yep.
Oh boy,
goes to New York, the future starting quarterback of the Jets.
And he can apprentice under Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Good God, New York media would be more unbearable in a lot of ways.
I was already, and I talked about this yesterday on the show, probably almost literally 24 hours to the moment, I think, because we were talking college football about this point, where I said, this is what I get for tapping on a few ESPN posts in my Instagram feed, because, of course, then the algorithm thinks, oh, we're going to give you everything ESPN. Cool. Problem is, ESPN was making Instagram posts about literally everything that happened on Saturday night. So my entire feed Sunday morning, I was like, for a whole minute, I'm scrolling through, and it's everything that happened in that game. Stop, please. I get it. The whole Coach Prime thing is a big deal. Yes, it is. And good that they're winning. Like, I'm just matching the hype. Stop.
21-point underdogs this week against Oregon. So,
what if they beat them?
oh god, without Hunter?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little difficult.
No, but I'm saying if they do it without Hunter,
if they do,
just give Deion Coach of the Year then already.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. By the way,
that would gotta put him close to top 10.
I would think of that. You beat Oregon, a number 10
You
team?
jump up 8 spots to number 10. I think
Yeah, for sure. I don't think they'll do that, though. I think that they're kind of due for something. I mean, my gosh, they nearly lost to a not-so-great team in Colorado State. And I know there are players injured. I get that. By the way, before I get to mine, one more Deion Sanders thing. You being probably the biggest Deion Sanders fan that I know of, are you of the opinion that play-by-play announcers should at least at some point during a game refer to him as Coach Sanders, or is it okay if they refer to him as nothing but Coach Prime?
I'm good with Coach Prime.
Like nothing but, like they never even call him Deion Sanders.
Now, I don't want it to turn into a whole Dan Snyder thing. No, it's Mr. Schneider.
Yeah, and I don't, as far as I know, there's nothing like that. I think it's just the announcers are kind of caught up with the whole Coach Prime thing, so they're saying it.
I was really hoping you were going to ask about should they be wearing shades and hats when they're calling a game.
Should they be wearing shades and hats when they're calling a game?
Yes.
That actually would be kind of fun to see that. Why not?
Why not? They're play-by-play on TV. Let's be a little bit more casual. You don't need to wear suits all the time. By the way, crying out loud, or polos or whatever.
Adam Pearson was telling me yesterday morning that John Fortier, co-host in the Chippewa Valley pregame, got some of those shades. He's going to bring them in. Yeah. All right. It's spreading to the Chippewa Valley, folks. Sanders mania.
I will not be one of those, so don't worry.
You're not wearing the shades?
No, I'm 37 years old. The hat. Crying out loud. So
yeah, you got the bandana though.
I do, but I actually think I got rid of it. So
you did?
I did.
Wow.
Yep.
You are adulting. Seriously.
I am.
Dang.
I don't have time for that crap anymore. No.
You're not Neon Deion anymore.
No, well, I wouldn't say that. I don't need every little nook and cranny of crap anymore. The new man cave from Carpet City Flooring Center is a little bit more sophisticated than that. So
that's true. You did do a little. Was it the Marie Kondo? The thing where you get rid of what doesn't make you happy.
No, I
whatever
never thought
that philosophy is. Well, you trim down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that again.
Downsize.
There you go. Downsize.
Downsize.
Speaking of downsizing, stock faller on my end. It's one AJ Dillon.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah. I don't.
Chatted about him a little bit in the first hour there.
What's I don't want to do what's his deal? That sounds way
what's wrong with AJ?
Dramatic. Yeah. But well, okay, at what point do we legit worry about the Packer offense if Aaron Jones stays gimpy and AJ Dillon isn't performing that well? And I know they got others, but at what point is there a legit concern about the Packer running game this season?
Well, I think there's a big concern. There's going to be New Orleans got a good defense, so you gotta have a better average per carry than like 2, whatever. It's 2.3 or what. It's bad. It's really bad, and especially I think what's the frustrating part too is like AJ Dillon's a muscular dude, right? He's a big dude. He should be bulldozing, but you kind of wonder, is he looking to make contact instead of, maybe avoiding it, hitting in the lanes and that.
So is that on Dillon or is that on the running backs coach?
I think it might be a little bit on Dillon because Aaron Jones seems to be still going good when he's out there.
So why would Dillon change his approach and then not be as effective?
I don't know, and it's frustrating to see, and I know there's probably nobody more frustrated than AJ Dillon at this point. So let's be real. We're all, AJ Dillon, I guarantee you, is probably the most frustrated. The Packers are probably the most frustrated right now. Is it something that, and this is something that they're going to have to look at whenever AJ's on the field, is that tipping opposing defenses off? Like, okay, it's going to him, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, he's lined up in this. That means it's always a run to AJ so they can tee off.
Yeah. And it could be early enough now where they're not disguising, like Jordan Love may not be at the point where he can effectively disguise based on play calls or
even change the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But hey,
Like
you're talking about the highest rated quarterback in the league through the first 2 weeks, Mr. Jordan Love.
It's true. And he's also, look, I think there's something else. It's not Love. I think it's more on Dylan. Yes. And like we said, it's not bad. It's just something's not working right. It's not trending well for the season. We'll see, but the stock's down. By the way, though, I do want to say on my stock watch, sounds like a CNBC segment. I was close to and may yet in a future edition throw in Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. His 2022 draft is looking like an F. Now with Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth Jr. top picks, now that they're both healthy, and I believe they're both healthy, both at the bottom of the depth charts. Like Lewis Cine's just not getting on the field outside of maybe special teams. And a lot of the other players have not panned out from that draft. Ed Ingram, known for stepping on Kirk Cousins a lot. Not so much this year, but there's only been 2 games. So you've got plenty more games to do that. I think there's one guy that's been starting from that draft. Bill Barnwell said it's perilously close to having a complete whiff from 2022. That's bad. Now, the reason I'm not quite giving him the stock faller is because that was his first draft as a general manager. Let's see how the other ones go. Sometimes you can have bad drafts, but it has been flagged accordingly. 2023 better pan out pretty well.
I will just say before we head to break here, I mentioned first hour, but in case anybody didn't hear it, you want to know a fun fact 2 weeks into the season?
Sure.
Do you want to know your top 7? I think it's 7 rated quarterbacks so far this year?
Yes.
You ready for this?
Is Kirk Cousins one of them?
Just you didn't answer yes or no. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, of course. I am ready.
So number 1 is Jordan Love, as I just said, 118 quarterback rating. Okay. Number 2 is Kirk Cousins at 114. Number 3, Jared Goff, all NFC North.
Wow, where's Justin Fields in this?
Justin Fields is 26, so he really
not anywhere close.
Brings down the whole thing. But this is your top 8. Jared Goff's 3. Russell Wilson's 4. Baker Mayfield is 5. Geno Smith is 6. Tua is 7. Brock Purdy is 8.
I would love to see the reaction on basically any NFL fans, which is it's like everyone in the country. Any NFL fans face 3 years ago to say that was the top 7.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years ago after Baker started to fall apart a little bit more. Oh, my gosh.
Patrick Mahomes is at 20. Joe Burrow's at 27. Josh Allen's 13.
It's also why they play whole seasons as opposed to 2 games.
Maybe the Cardinals knew what they were doing because Joshua Dobbs is 17.
He actually is doing pretty well. It's just the rest of the team. But
Dobbs they're screwing around, though, by almost winning some of these games. You got to knock it off, Cardinals, for crying out loud. Stop it.
Can't you, throw some of these games? By the way, QBR, just quick brought this up.
Jordan's 4th.
Yeah, and this looks a little more like what you would expect. Purdy, Dak. Can you ever refer to him as Prescott? He's got to be Dak only. Interestingly, I've heard Tua Tagovailoa more than I've heard Prescott.
Yeah, especially with the last name.
Yeah, props to everyone for getting the pronunciation right and going with it. I thought it was going to be Tua for the rest of his career. No, people dove in on that one. Thank you, and NFL culture. Jordan Love's 4th, Goff 5th, Cousins 6th, Matthew Stafford, sorry, full name, 7th on the total QBR. Mahomes is at 9, by the way, on that.
Yeah.
Baker 10, Russ 11.
Got it. All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be back after these quick words. Don't forget to make your picks for our pro football pick'em challenge right up at our website, sportstalk1051.com. I just made mine because I just thought of it. So,
Okay.
You gonna go winless again, Luke? Minnesota gonna go 0-3. They got the Chargers coming in. Chargers look desperate too.
Yeah,
Big week 3 game.
I don't like the prospects of this. I'm right now. If I had to pick, I'm not committing to this, but right now I'd pick the Chargers. But we'll see how I feel as the week goes along.
Yeah, and then you got the Bears who have to go to the Chiefs. Good luck with that one. So you got two NFC North teams that might be 0-3. There goes the one time I give you guys some credit and pick you to win a division, you got to go out and maybe start 0-3.
And yet Kirk Cousins is going to be like putting up some of the best numbers of his career.
Yes, yeah.
And they're still losing.
It's the way the cookie crumbles. It really is. Who does I picked Detroit. Okay, so they got Atlanta going. Detroit's going to win that one. So
I think Atlanta's looking okay.
They're going to be reading their headlines now and all that, so they'll lose that one. Mark it down.
Which team is more likely to suffer from reading their headlines, though? I mean, Atlanta's getting good ones right now. Detroit's been getting good headlines for like a
Detroit
year.
lost last week, though, so they kind of got humbled.
Hopefully for their
they
sake.
Did. We don't hope. We just we spit facts. We don't hope.
Take out Packer fandom. Do you want the Lions to like become a legit good team?
No.
Ever?
No.
Again, like if they were in a different division.
I can't take away fandom, no. You can't. It's hard.
The Lions are just I know it's difficult. I know. But do you
this isn't a participation league.
Do you feel bad for Lions?
No. Come on. No, of course not. My kid does, but he's probably got more of a soul and a heart than I do, but
I love that. Honestly, there's part of me that's like, okay, yeah, I understand the pain. On the other hand, really, no, I just no.
No, of course
I'm
not.
not entirely there either.
I don't feel sorry for any of because you know what? They don't feel sorry or they hate us too, so it don't matter.
No.
Works both ways. No.
Fair enough.
There's 31 other fan bases that I don't give a rip about.
Look, speaking as a fan of a team that has never won a championship, I tend not
because you will be a fan of Green Bay.
But I tend to look askance at any fan base that has a team that has won a championship. The Lions do have championships. They won the NFL title. So I know it's been probably not in the lifetimes of most any Detroit Lions fans, but it has happened. You did win something at some point. So knock it off, Lions fans.
Well, how many people are still alive?
That's my point.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it now, but it happened. It did happen. I mean, hey, if the Packers
Hey, at least they don't go touting it like the 85 Bears, okay?
Okay, we'll give the... Wait, which... No, it was the Colts that did the...
Yeah, the Colts did like the runner-up or some whatever thing, yeah.
And what heck, they won a Super Bowl pretty recently, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could understand the Lions starting to go into like, hey, we made the playoffs, because, again, you want to, throw a bone to people that actually witnessed it with their own eyes. Yeah, I mean, 85, just, yeah, okay, fine. But those are Bears fans. We did have a discussion yesterday about like the most insufferable fan bases and which fan base is to the point where you would not want your kid. It wasn't quite this thing, but to where you would not want your kid to become a fan of that team.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I understand.
It's the horn that does it for me over Bears fans. That stupid horn.
But you wouldn't like let's say you have like another kid coming up, and I think the Bears would be off limits for your kid, correct?
Well, 31 teams are off limits. So.
Okay, fair point. But if you had to rank, I would think the Bears would be towards the...
Oh, yeah, they'd be number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
See, now I think, and maybe this is because of that Vikings-Eagles game was not that long ago, I hadn't thought of this. I think the Eagles are pretty high on my list of teams I would not want. And I have nothing against the organization, the Philadelphia Eagles organization. It's just their fans are the worst. Absolutely the worst. Okay, not exactly a headline that Philly sports fans are brutish. It's been a thing for decades. But
the one thing I will say, Lions are probably not in my top 5, so they got that going for them.
That's true. Like as I was thinking through like the NFC North, it's like...
And that honestly might be a knock against them, though, too. If you think about it.
It kind of is. Like if my daughter became a Lions fan, I'd be like, really? Okay, cool. I guess. Like I'd be, if she became a Packer fan, okay, fine, it's Wisconsin. I don't think she's going to care about sports that much anyway. If she became a Bears fan, I think I might be more annoyed. She better not be a Cowboys fan. That's there will be some education if she starts to be like, hey, yeah, Dak. No, stop. Eagles, though, I don't know. I
got a little soft spot in my heart for Eagles fans because they fully embrace the Rocky Balboa.
That's true
over there. So
that's true. But the thing is, there are certain things to like about them, but then they do just like the most. There's a word I want to say on the radio, and I don't think I can, so I'm not. But just the sort of thing you're like, what is wrong with you that you don't see with other fan bases?
I'm looking at your Minnesota schedule here, Lucas. Mm-hmm. Chargers.
It's not great.
You'll finally win at Carolina.
You sure?
Yep. I'll give you a win on that one.
I suppose if Bryce Young finally figures out the right, person to line up behind.
Then you got Patrick Mahomes. So, okay, you're going to lose that one. Then you're at Chicago. Okay, you get 2 wins. Then you're going to lose that one in San Francisco. Then you're at Green Bay. So you might be going to that October 29th game, Halloween, with only 2 wins.
That's a very distinct possibility.
So how about this?
Okay.
If we head into that Green Bay game and you've only got 2 wins or less, mm-hmm. we officially change Skol to still keeps on losing.
That does mean, though, that if they go on a winning streak next year, we can revise it to something else.
There's always next year, right?
Of course.
Always next year.
It's always been next year since 1961.
Mm-hmm.
It's evergreen. We can change stuff right and left because it doesn't change because they never win it. So sure, we look. I'll roll with it. Mm-hmm. I think the Vikings are probably going to suck this year. I'm fine. I thought they could be maybe a floor of a 7-win team. The rate they're going, I think. But this also isn't the season they were supposed to win the Super Bowl anyway. Well, I don't know if there's any season they were supposed to win the Super Bowl. But it sure as heck wasn't this season. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, there's part of me that just wants to take the season off and get ready for 2024 because this isn't going to be the one. If I'm going to sweat out a season, wait until they're supposed to be in position to be good, which hopefully will be next year or the year after they've rebuilt that defense. Right now, the Flores defense, I think it's a personnel thing, but man, the Eagles were eating them up last week. Like 2 guys on the defensive line. And again, maybe it's because of the best way to work the scheme, but that did not work last week.
My top 5, since you guys did yours, I'll go through mine here quick.
Yeah.
Vikings 1, Bears 2. I'm probably gonna go Dallas 3.
Okay.
4 49ers. 5, I will go. Who gets the luxury of getting number 5 right now? I kind of just want to pick the Jets, but I don't really know. Or
see,
really
that's you got to think long term because 5 years from now, the Jets won't matter.
See, like right now, it's not Seattle anymore. If this was 2014, Seattle would be under.
That's where I was wondering. Like, have the Seahawks finally fallen enough down that the rivalry is? I mean, there's still elements of it, but it's not what it used to be. Where 5 years ago, 10 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think where would Seattle have been in? Let's say the autumn of 2014, or sorry, autumn of 2015. After that game, where was Seattle?
Probably 3 or 4
behind Minnesota and Chicago.
Yeah,
ahead of Dallas.
Yep. Yeah, probably around there.
Now, San Francisco probably wouldn't have been as high because we haven't had as many bad losses to the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they were starting, but they hadn't accumulated.
I think number 5, I will go. Man, this one's kind of tough. Ooh, I don't know. I have to think about 5 here for a little bit. That one's tough.
While you think about that, you
know what? I'll go Buffalo. Bills Mafia.
Really?
Yep.
You're zagging on the Bills Mafia?
They do very good stuff for charity stuff, but
know.
The part, I think they get a little bit more credit for the whole cold weather. We do the cold weather, we do the snow thing, that whole Madden cover thing with Josh Allen, Lambeau leaping and all that sort of crap. That bugged me as a Packers fan. So
is it not so much the team? Is it more? Okay, I'm
The culture.
See if I'm getting this right here. And it's not even necessarily Bill's Mafia fault. It's more the attention to Bill's Mafia.
Yeah, that might be the way.
So
maybe I shouldn't do that to Bill's Mafia.
Because again, like Buffalo is basically Green Bay East in a good way.
Yeah, but it feels like sometimes they get a little bit more credit than they deserve. So
well, you know what's helping right now? That the Bills are good now for the first time in forever.
Okay, I'll take Buffalo off. Boy, then I don't know.
See, I was gonna say I'm getting shades of LeBron and Michael Jordan with Hudson with the Bills thing. Like, are you afraid that you'd have a kid of yours that is like, yeah, well, I think Buffalo does a better job than Green Bay does? Kind of like how he, like that.
I think I'm going to put Detroit at 5.
Safe answer.
Yeah, I'm going to put. It's not Tampa anymore because the Brady thing is done.
Kansas City?
No, I like Kansas City.
Okay.
I think honestly, I like Kansas City. I'm good with that.
Not the Eagles. You're good with that.
Rocky Balboa.
Oh, that's.
They do some stupid stuff, but what fan base doesn't do some stupid stuff?
Rams.
So, I thought about them, but
Sean McVay coaching tree.
You know that to me is more based off the team and their unwillingness and scaredness to play in cold weather, and always asking the NFL not to go to Green Bay in cold. So, and I really appreciate the NFL then says, "Screw you, you're going in November, December, or January."
The commies would have been a good choice in the Dan Snyder era. But
yes,
but
I also feel bad for those fans too because they just really wanted somebody else. You know, it wasn't their choice.
Right. So, like now, I think it's safe now.
See, I think there's a difference between fan bases and teams.
Yes. Like I said, in the Eagles case, it's totally the fan base, but it's not the team at all. In the Cowboys case, it's the team that annoys the heck out of me. And the organization that annoys me. Seattle, it's definitely the team. It's got to be. That's why for Packers fans anyway. And I get it as I've seen enough of it. Like yeah, I know why they are. When they were good, they made sure you knew it. That can get really annoying really fast.
What's the, before we take a break, the one fan base you feel the most sorry for? Besides your own.
I was gonna say, mine. I will die on that hill all day long on that. After that, see, they got to be long suffering without actual success. I'm not gonna like. Yeah, so if you won a Super Bowl within like last 25 years, no. Even in the last 40 years, no. So we're really talking like, I think kind of in on either the Browns or the Bills. Because now the Browns have a championship. The Bills have an AFL championship. Depends, again, how much do you want to count that? Because they never got a chance to prove themselves against the NFL. We don't know how that would have gone. Well, I think the Packers would have beaten the Bills in 65, but we'll never know. So I'm kind of with the Bills. Oh, okay, this might be my tell. I think it's the Bills because as there are a lot of things with the Bills that I like, I don't want them to win a Super Bowl because then the other 0-4 team has a win. And I know that's more in the Vikings. That, hey, well, how about you guys go get a win? That's not the Bills' fault. But there is some company in having another 0-4 Super Bowl team. And I don't want them to be that to break that. That's stupid. But see, that's where I'm coming from. So what I'm really saying is they're like us in terms of the fan base needs to get a break. So I think it's really the Bills.
I am going to go with New England. They haven't won in the last few years. I feel really bad. They got so used to winnings all the time, and now they just stink. So I'm going to go Patriots.
Hey, at least they have Pat Patriot back.
Yeah, those poor guys. I mean, Bill Belichick's not going to break the wins record. I just feel bad for the Patriots. Horrible, man.
It sucks.
You know, you set the bar so high, week in, week out, year in, year out, and then you stink. And then they got a little tease, too, because, you know, rookie year Mac Jones, what do? They go back to the postseason. Oh, boy, here comes – nope, it ain't happening.
Bill Belichick can't win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
You know,
what is wrong with that franchise?
I'm sorry, guys. I hear you. I feel you. Yeah.
See, and by the way, I might also say Cardinals fans, but are there?
Are there what?
Cardinals fans?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
We got quite a few that listen.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Illini Greg, shout out. Tim W, shout out.
Oh my gosh, I have never met a Cardinals fan in my life.
What?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Never.
The winning team for the Casper Classic are Cardinals fans.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Arizona, not St. Louis.
Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, never mind. I thought you were going on the St. Louis one.
Oh gosh,
okay,
no, I know.
My bad.
I know St. Louis Cardinals fans. Arizona.
I thought because
Cardinals.
you were talking Patriots to sustain winning, and then Cardinals sustain winning,
I
and
see where you're coming. Yeah. No, I mean Arizona Cardinals. Do they have fans? I mean, I think they do. It looks like it sometimes in the stadiums, but I know it's Arizona, so it's a long ways away. So understandably, if I never would have run into one. I mean, I haven't run into a fan of most teams, but that makes sense because most of them wouldn't be around here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I've met a fan from every team,
but you've been around a more, and so you would have seen that. And I mean, I'm sure I've seen people.
I played that game when I went to the draft to see if I could see every jersey,
and you did,
and we did.
Yep, of course. So I mean, yes, and I know there are Cardinals fans out there, but are there long-suffering, like going back to Chicago Cardinals fans? And again, that'd have to be a pretty old, and there may be a handful. That's where I'm not as. The Cardinals would be in a great position having just that title back in 47. Shout out Red Cochran. But they've moved around so much, and then they've been relatively anonymous for so long. I don't think there's much of a fan base that's like, oh, please, us. So that's why I go Bills. Outside of the Vikings. The Vikings are number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back to wrap up this Wednesday morning after these few words. All right, we only got a few minutes left to the top of the hour here, so let's wrap things up. Reminder: starting today, the podcast will now be available on YouTube along with your favorite podcasting platforms like Apple and Spotify and such. So you can also check it out over there. Brewers back in action tonight. Adrian Hauser on the mound for the Crew. Brewers. We got 6 more wins for the magic number, or a combination of wins and losses by the Cubs over there too. So, but 6 is the magic number here for the Brewers to win that division over the Cubs. Are we? And when I say we, I mean everybody as a collective group.
Mm-hmm.
Brewers are at 85 wins, which have already surpassed many expectations for this Brewers team. They're going to get 90, I think. Is that a fair assumption? They'll probably get to 90.
Probably so.
And you look at some of the best records in baseball. Even like if you look at the last couple of months, Brewers are up there, right? They're up there. Are we almost kind of taking this one for the season a little granted already?
Yes. Yes. They've they
got more wins in Houston, more wins in Toronto, more wins in the Yankees, obviously. More than Philly. They got the 3rd most wins in the National League. And would have the 7th most overall, because there's 2 better than them in the AL. So
the assessment I would say is
5. Yeah,
I mean, we've talked about them plenty here, like literally we have talked about them, so that's good. I think the pitching has gradually gotten more attention as the season's gone along. But this might be an indicator, and this is, again, one podcast, but my go-to baseball one is Baseball Tonight, and I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, Buster Olney said, the team we've talked about the least on the podcast this year, the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's like the only time they've talked about the Brewers.
Yeah.
If that's
5th most wins in all of Major League Baseball.
Uh-huh. Now, and I say one podcast because sometimes their topics depend on what either is a hot topic, so like the Mets are going to get a lot of attention because it's the Mets,
right?
And there are probably a lot of podcasts down. They probably have the data, and there's probably getting a lot of downloads in New York. So maybe that's it. And the people on the show, some have their personal fandom, so those teams get more attention. It's understandable. I mean, if I were a regular on that show, I bet there'd be a lot more Twins talk. There's hardly any Twins talk on that show. Speaking of a team that's completely under the radar, there's another one. I think even maybe within the state to a degree, I think it hurts the Brewers that they've had enough weak offensive performances, and that has been the knock on this team for long enough that I think there's still an impression among casual fans that, the Brewers can't hit. So they're not as good as their record indicates.
I also like it for another reason, that maybe for like the state or maybe among some Brewers fans that or maybe not giving a little credit to where credit's due, because the expectations, I think, have gotten higher over the years.
Yeah.
They've gone to the postseason, 4 years in a row. They missed out last year on a game. Those expectations, Brandon and I talked about last Friday. They've, when we're talking about the David Stearns era, growing up as kids, we never thought playoffs. 2008, when we were in college, we were just happy to get there. Now it's changed to where, like, okay, we're not just satisfied getting there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can get there. Now we want to win. So I think that's part of it too. It's like, great, 85 wins. Dodgers don't care about 90 wins, Braves or whatever they're at right now. That's not what they care about. They care about winning the World Series trophy.
Still think it's weird, though, that they do this. I know baseball. By the way, is baseball the sport where players celebrate the most?
That's a good question.
Relative to other ones? Like, any walk-off win is people go nuts, and that happens multiple times in a season. And then anytime you clinch anything playoff-wise, it's a champagne celebration. There was a photo the other day from the Dodgers champagne locker room celebration, winning the division
or winning their playoff series to move on.
Yeah, so you end up with like 4 champagne celebrations. Yeah. Clinch the playoffs, woo! Clinch the division, woo! Win the.
I think part of it is though too is that baseball's 162 freaking games.
There's a lot.
It
is a grind. And I've heard that about when you get to the end. I mean, it actually is for sports. It is a grind. And by the end of the season, you've done so much that the emotions
and I think
come out more.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm a believer in this too, you got to celebrate your successes. I think you have to celebrate. And I know everybody's like, they haven't won anything yet. That was the whole Badgers thing when they beat Kentucky. Everybody's like, they celebrate too much. They got one more. I think you're allowed to celebrate your successes.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to correct myself on that too. Like I'm annoyed by all the extra celebration. But on the other hand, you're like, well, hang on. If they're all if it's good, what's the negative to any of this?
Right.
As long as you're not then going out and like bashing people when you lose, I guess it's an okay thing.
We celebrate as fans.
Yeah, so
They're human too, the players and the coaches, for crying out loud.
if the vibes are good, that's really all that matters. So I think a lot of us that do get upset about, and I know like this is like storming the court, storming the field.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, should Colorado have stormed the field after beating Colorado State?
No.
Okay.
Really quick, Illini Greg was listening. She's a fan now, but as a kid, I was a fan of the Big Red St. Louis football Cardinals.
Okay.
Neil Lomax to Roy Green.
Yeah,
so
Neil Lomax. Nice reference.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. Talk to you tomorrow.